Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Cam Jennings, aka Cam Fats, coming at you on behalf of EpicConversions.com. I want to welcome you to another episode of Index Card Insights. This is episode 22. Today, we're talking about how to get more sales with this often misunderstood sales tactic. What is the sales tactic I'm talking about? I will tell you in just a second. But before I do, I want to remind everybody to get over to EpicConversions.com, grab your free copy of 12 Secrets. That's 12 mind-blowing reveals on AI and online business. This is written by me. It's a quick read. It's only 48 pages, and it comes with a free giveaway license. You're absolutely going to love it. You're going to get a lot out of it, and you can get it over to EpicConversions.com. So get over there and check it out. Now, what is this often misunderstood sales tactic that I'm talking about? What is this often misunderstood tactic I'm talking about that's going to get you more sales? I'm talking about anchoring. All right. Now, typically when we talk about anchoring in sales, generally people take it as far as, okay, this product is $47, but scratch that. We're going to put it on sale for only $10 today. Or they'll say, hey, now for all the stuff I've talked about, what would you expect to pay $1,000? It would be fair for me to charge that to you. But I'm not going to charge you $1,000 today. I'm not going to charge you $500. I'm not going to charge you $200. I'm not even going to charge you $57 today. We're going to take this all the way down to $19.97 for a limited time, right? That's typical anchoring. You start people at one price, so they have this point of reference, and then you take them all the way down. The reason you do it is because they don't have a point of reference for your product. They really don't know what it's about. So that's typical anchoring, right? But what people don't a lot of times realize is that anchoring can go a lot deeper than that. And to explain that to you, let me talk about the narrative device known as the fish out of water story, basically. The fish out of water story. It's the fish out of water narrative device is what I'm talking about. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. I'm going to explain it to you. So let me give you a few examples. When we talk about Starship Troopers, maybe some of you read that book, old school sci-fi book. Robert Heinlein wrote it. Well, the main character is this guy named Johnny Rico, right? Or Juan Rico. So the way it starts is, Johnny Rico and his friends join the military. Okay. But the thing is, because we're following them on their journey, joining the military, like it allows the storyteller to give us all this input on this world that we don't understand because we're seeing it through Johnny Rico's eyes. It's new to him and it's new to us. But the storyteller can give us all that information because it's new to the character, right? So we don't break immersion, right? We can be in the story. It still seems completely reasonable because the main character doesn't understand what the hell's going on either. It's not just us that doesn't understand the world. The main character in Starship Troopers doesn't understand the world either, right? It's perfect. It's called fish out of water narrative device. All right. Now look, let me give you a few more examples of this. Think about Bilbo Baggins. And because this is used over and over and over again in sci-fi and fantasy books, movies, these genres use fish out of water story over and over and over again. Think about Lord of the Rings. Think about The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, right? We had this whole fantasy world, Lord of the Rings, this whole, Middle Earth? We had the whole Middle Earth. Now we're introduced to Middle Earth through Bilbo Baggins, right? He's from the Shire, right? Well, what's interesting about that is the Shire, those folks stick to themselves. They don't know anything about larger Middle Earth. So it's perfect. As Bilbo Baggins leaves the Shire and explores the greater world of Middle Earth, we get to explore the greater world of Middle Earth. It gives the author, J.R.R. Tolkien, it gives him a way to explain the world of Middle Earth to us without pulling us out of the story, because it's all new to Bilbo Baggins too, right? This is fish out of water technique, all right? Again, Luke Skywalker, Star Wars, drops us right in the middle of Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away. We don't know what the hell is going on, but guess what? Neither does Luke Skywalker. He starts out as a farm boy. He's never been off the planet of Tatooine, right? He doesn't know anything about the world that he's getting ready to go into. He doesn't know anything about the Jedi. He doesn't know anything about all this other stuff that's going on. He knows very, very little about the world. So that gives us as the reader, or us as the viewer, a chance to have the world explained to us without breaking immersion, right? It's perfectly reasonable, right? It's a perfectly reasonable way to explain the world to us. Let me give you one more example of fish out of water. Harry Potter, okay? Think about Harry Potter for a minute. Harry Potter doesn't know anything about the wizarding world. He doesn't know anything about magic. He's staying at his at the Dursleys' house, right? His family, and they're not a great family, but he's staying at the Dursleys' house. He doesn't know he's like some kind of superstar wizard. He doesn't know anything about magic. He doesn't know anything about any of that stuff, right? So as he's introduced to the world of magic, so are we. All right. Now, that's fish out of water narrative device, right? And it's a very, very popular way to start a sci-fi fantasy story. Now, how do we bring that back around to marketing? How do we bring that back around to anchoring? All right. Well, it's very similar. You know, if you think about like the anchor is the perspective, you think about like the prospect is the character, and you think about the copy, whatever you write, is like world building, right? It's the same concepts and ideas surrounding it. So, for example, like I don't have to say like, hey, my thing is this much money, but you know what? I'm going to drop the price down to this instead, right? We don't have to be that simple. It doesn't have to be that simple, right? So another example of narrative would be like, let's say I have a fitness and health book, right? And I want to sell this book for like $500, right? That's a really expensive price for a book, $500. That kind of breaks the mold of what people think a book should cost. Most people think a book should cost like $30, $20, $10, $5. You know, that's what people think a book should cost. They already have a preset narrative of what they think a book should cost. But if I'm selling my book for $500, like that means I not only have to like explain the narrative, I have to break the narrative. I have to break the current narrative they have for a book and introduce a new narrative if I want to sell for that price. So how do I do something like that? I can't do it by just saying, hey, my book should be $10,000, but I'm taking the price not down to $1,000. I'm taking it all the way down to $500. That doesn't work. They already have a preset narrative for what a book should cost in their mind. I have to break that. All right. So how do I do something like that? Well, let's say I have a health and fitness book, right? And I want to charge $500 for it. So I'm not going to compare my $500 health and fitness book to other books about health and fitness. That doesn't make sense. What I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to like a low-end treadmill, right? A low-end treadmill would cost maybe $500. Like you got higher-end treadmills that are thousands of dollars, but the low-end ones are like $500. So maybe I'll go to Amazon and maybe I'll explore like some reviews on low-end treadmills and the bad reviews, and I'll look and see what people are complaining about. Maybe the conveyor, the conveyor belt, whatever it is down there, goes off the track a lot. Maybe it makes loud noises. Maybe it breaks too fast. Maybe it doesn't work as expected, right? And I'll talk about these things, and I'll say, look, you know, here's the thing. You could get this $500 treadmill that's going to break down all the time. It's low rent. It's not great. It's on the lower end of treadmills. It's not going to probably do what you want it to do. So I'll anchor it with that, right? So I'm comparing something to a similar price. My book's $500. So is this low rent treadmill, you know, but think about the negatives of this treadmill. And then I might compare it to like something that's much, much higher in price, like going to college for like health and nutrition. Or you could go to college for like, you know, $50,000 for like a health and nutrition degree and nutritional sciences or whatever, dietary sciences. You know, you could pay $50,000 for that and have a 4-year time commitment. And, you know, you still might not get everything you need, you know, you could do that, right? So what have I done there? I've taken my book, which is only $500, and I've compared it to a $50,000 4-year degree, which is much, much more expensive, and it's a much bigger time commitment. right? And then I can take it the opposite direction and I can say, or you could spend absolutely nothing, save your money, and do nothing and get nowhere, right? So now I've taken it to extremes. I've taken something that's around the same price as my thing, but it's not going to perform as well. I've taken something that's much more expensive than my thing, but it's way, way more of a time commitment. It's probably too much. Most people don't need that much. And then I've compared it to doing nothing, which is going to be free, but they're not going to get any benefit out of it, right? And by doing all these comparisons, what I've done is I've rewrote the script. I've changed the narrative, right? It's fish out of water, man, because the thing about it is they had a predefined narrative, much like someone in the Shire or someone who like mined water on a farm on Tatooine had a predefined narrative of what their world was. But then you threw them into a different world. You know, Johnny Rico, he wasn't used to the world of the military when he joined in Starship Troopers. It's fish out of water storytelling. This is a fish out of water narrative. And this is another way that you can approach anchoring to sell your stuff, right? So again, the anchor is the perspective, right? The character is the prospect, and your copy is the world building of the product. You got to look at your product like it's a world that you're building. The prospects are not familiar with this world, right? You have to create the narrative for them. They have no point of reference for what your product is worth, especially if you're selling a digital product like an ebook or like a video training, or you're offering some kind of a service. If they have no frame of reference for what it should cost, you have to build that world. You have to build that world, and you do it with anchor points. And a lot of times it's really good to do with anchor points of things they are somewhat familiar with. If you try to anchor it to a bunch of stuff they're not familiar with, then it doesn't work as good. You're just throwing them into this whole big world they don't understand. But if you can anchor the things they are familiar with and anchor it in such a way where like the price of what you're selling makes sense, then you can do some great. That's fish out of water storytelling and how it relates to anchoring and marketing. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It's kind of like a more expanded way to use anchoring, and not just use anchoring in that basic way of, hey, I got this. I'm not going to charge you $1,000 for it. I'm not going to charge you $500 for it. That's a very elementary way to use anchoring. I'm not saying it's not effective, but it's very elementary. And you can take the idea of anchoring way, way, way deeper than just like, hey, I'm going to discount this product way down. If you start thinking about narrative devices, if you start thinking about like fish out of water, you can do some really good stuff with anchoring. Anyways, listen, guys, that's all I got. I hope this has been helpful to you. Be sure to get over to epicconversions.com, grab your free copy of 12 Secrets, and I'm going to give you 12 secrets on artificial intelligence, right? And when I say secrets, I mean, I'm talking about stuff you probably never heard of before. You're going to love it. Get over to epicconversions.com, check it out, and I will see you in the next episode. Peace, everybody.